As always, please retry the question before watching the video. A few things you need to note to be able to answer this question. If you don't know the answer to any of them, add it to your cheat sheet, master them, and go back 5 before continuing in the video. Should names have commas around them? On the ACT, almost never. On the ACT, almost never. And so if you see commas around a name, that should be a red flag for you. What is the giveaway that you need commas around the name? What you're looking for to tell if you need commas around the name, the easiest way is if it has articles like the or a prior to the descriptor that comes before it. In this case, it says British born artist. If it said something like the main British born artist, then you have an article, and that's a scenario where you're probably going to need commas around the name. However, if it doesn't have that article, as most of the time it's not, you should not have commas around the name because it's essential to understanding. We need to know which British born artist we're talking about. Therefore, it is essential, and therefore it should not have commas around it. When do clauses start and end? Clauses start and end when the next subject verb combo starts. Okay, subject verb combo almost always start the clause, and when the next clause starts, that's when the previous clause ends a good percentage of the time. What are your main helping verbs? Am, is, are, was, were. Am, is, are, was, were. If you don't have those memorized, please go ahead and add them to your cheat sheet, master them, and go back 5 before continuing in the video. Now let's go ahead and take a look at these answers. Answer F. First thing we got, British born artist Banksy has. So that's our subject verb combo. That's a subject verb combo. That means that needs to be separated from the rest of the sentence. Okay, it starts with an introductory phrase, and we need to separate it. And the place where we separate it is right in front of the subject verb combo because that's the start of the clause. So answer F is wrong because we could call that clauses separated improperly. Even though it's an introductory phrase, it starts with a dependent clause marker. So we just call it a dependent clause for simplicity's sake. And dependent followed by independent should be separated by a comma. It's a comma always. So that's one reason. We also have Banksy separated with commas, but we don't have an article anywhere. And therefore, British born artist Banksy. We need to know which British born artist we're talking about. Therefore, Banksy is essential. Therefore, it should not have punctuation around it. Answer G. So answer G at least does properly separate the introductory phrase and the clause, but it improperly puts commas around Banksy, even though that is essential to the independent clause. Okay, so we can eliminate answer G because there's no article. Remember, it would have something like the main British born artist or something of that effect if it was going to have Banksy be non-essential, which is the only time that you would have commas around it. Answer H. It is separating the introductory phrase from the clause, and it's doing it properly with a comma, so that's correct. It doesn't have commas around Banksy, so that's correct. So this is looking like our correct answer. Answer J. It does not have proper separation between the introductory phrase and the clause, and it has a comma in the middle of the clause. So that's punctuation in the middle of the clause. So 2 things wrong with answer J there. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate that, leaving us with confirmation that answer H is correct. If this made sense to you, please go ahead and add it to your worksheet. Write out what you learned that you want to retain and the answer, and then go on to do the remaining clause 1 questions that you miss on the test. If this is the final clause 1 question that you missed on this test, please add it to your, or please go ahead and do the mastery for clause 1 by getting 10 questions correct in a row on the clause 1 mastery before coming back and doing the next category that you miss the most questions in.